Hello again, everybody. I'm Matt Robinson, and welcome to another exciting edition of the League Wraparound. This is the program to get you caught up on anything and everything happening around the world of the National Football League. Coming up on this edition of the program, we'll preview Week 12's most important games in the NFL and so much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. And as always, before we preview Week 12's most important games, let's recap Week 11's most important games in the NFL. Thursday night football, we had an NFC East rivalry game between the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles would hold on to win 26-18. The Baltimore Ravens took on the Pittsburgh Steelers in an AFC North rivalry game. The Steelers hold off to beat the Ravens 18-16. The Green Bay Packers took on the Chicago Bears. Tight game in another rivalry game in the NFC North. Green Bay holds on to win 20-19. The Seattle Seahawks took on the San Francisco 49ers in an NFC West rivalry game. Geno Smith's rushing touchdown late in the game put the Seahawks ahead and would hold on to beat the 49ers 20-17. The Atlanta Falcons took on the Denver Broncos, and it was total domination by Denver. Broncos would win 38-6. We had the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, Kansas City, the quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Josh Allen's late rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter was the go-ahead to give the Bills the lead and to give them the victory, giving the Chiefs their first loss of the year. Buffalo wins 30-21. Sunday Night Football was a tale of two halves between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert out on the West Coast between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Chargers. J.K. Dobbins' go-ahead touchdown would give the Chargers the lead and the victory, giving the Chargers a 34-27 win. Monday Night Football was the battle of the Lone Star State between the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys. What else is new, right? The Cowboys had another loss. Houston dominated from start to finish. Texans would win 34-10. And those were your scores from Week 11's most important games in the NFL. All right, now it's time for my top three storylines. My first storyline is the Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen rivalry. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, these two quarterbacks are dynamic. Both of these quarterbacks are very unique, and they're very unique to their respective teams. Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs, Allen for the Buffalo Bills. Since these two have gone up against one another, they have played each other a total of 8 times. 4 times that Josh Allen has beaten Patrick Mahomes, and 4 times that Patrick Mahomes has beaten Josh Allen. Hey, I've talked about it on previous shows with rivalries from the likes of a Joe Montana, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, John Elway, Steve Young, Brett Favre, Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham, Boomer Esiason, Bertie Kosar, and even with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, also Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, just to name a few. But we are currently blessed right now to be in the midst of great quarterback rivalries, and one of them is Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And we saw another landmark game last Sunday with the Bills beating the Chiefs 30-21. Not only was this a significant win for Buffalo, but this was also significant because Kansas City lost their first game of the season. Now, Kansas City defensively, they've played pretty well this year. Offensively, it's been very shaky. But we're watching greatness at work as we speak right now. We're watching greatness in the midst of us right now. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. These two gentlemen have played each other a total of 8 times, splitting the series, career series, I should say, 4-4. I definitely think the best is yet to come between these two quarterbacks. Could they play each other again in January? There's a strong possibility. If not in the AFC Championship, maybe in a playoff game. Who knows? But man, we have been treated to some very fantastic games between these two quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, what more can you say? Both career defining quarterbacks, both represent their franchises well. And again, both quarterbacks are unique and different, just like their respective teams. You've got one team that is built on power and a blue collar work ethic. You've got another team that's built on flash, dash, a lot of offense, but also there's some celebrity edge to it as well. Bottom line is this: Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, as I stated earlier about the great quarterback rivalries that we've had in the past, those have been phenomenal. But we're in a treat. We're experiencing something great right now. And certainly Bills Chiefs, specifically Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, the best will get better from here on out. My next storyline is going to be Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert. So last Sunday night, we were in for a treat, and we were treated to a great game between two members of the class of the 2020 NFL draft. Joe Burrow, of course, was drafted number one overall by the Cincinnati Bengals, and the sixth overall pick, the Los Angeles Chargers, selecting Justin Herbert. You talk about a game, I should say a tale of two halves. In the first half, it was all Cincinnati Bengals, or should I say, in the first half, it was all Justin Herbert, all Chargers. That offense was rocking and rolling in that first half. The second half, the tide turned, and it became all about Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense. And it went down to the wire. But also, let's not forget, several missed field goals by Evan McPherson, and then the Bengals having opportunities to convert on certain downs. That didn't happen. Justin Herbert, within the 2-minute stretch, made some key plays, making some sharp throws to a wide receiver, Lad McConkey, and of course, J.K. Dobbins scoring the go-ahead touchdown to give the Chargers the lead and the victory. As I stated earlier, I mentioned about Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Well, we've got a good one with Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. These two quarterbacks have only played each other twice. Herbert currently leads the career series 2-0. Their first meeting was December the 5th of 2021. That game was in Cincinnati. Chargers would beat the Bengals 41-22. And then their last matchup was on Sunday Night Football in a very close game, but the Chargers winning 34-27. I mentioned those quarterbacks in the earlier storyline and how we were blessed to see those gentlemen be masters at work. And we're watching great quarterbacks at work right now, not just with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, but what we saw, especially Sunday night with the Bengals and the Chargers. We saw how Justin Herbert dominated in the first half. And we also saw how Joe Burrow took over in the second half. And we saw two quarterbacks go at it. And you talk about two guys that put up monster numbers in this contest. In the end, it was all about who was going to make the best plays and who was going to commit the most turnovers towards the end. Or it was all about who was not going to convert on the key plays or convert on the key downs. As I stated earlier, Evan McPherson, Bengals kicker, he missed several field goals in this contest. It gave the Chargers opportunities to get back in the game. Justin Herbert took his team down the field, and then they ran the running play with J.K. Dobbins, scoring the go-ahead touchdown to give the Chargers the lead in the victory. Burrow and Herbert, they represent what I guess you could say one of the best in the class of 2020, and the best, as I stated earlier, with Mahomes and Allen. It's going to get only better with those two, and I feel it's only going to get better with these two, with Burrow and Herbert. And for my last storyline is going to be the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints, after letting go their head coach, Dennis Allen, in comes the interim head coach, Darren Rizzi. Rizzi's first game against the Atlanta Falcons, the team played with urgency, the team played with pride, and they just looked like a different New Orleans Saints team. Saints hold on to beat the Falcons by 3. The second game against the Cleveland Browns, you talk about just a team that look refreshed on both sides of the ball, not just on the offensive side, but the defensive side as well. Taysom Hill was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Taysom Hill had a game for the ages against the Cleveland Browns. And the New Orleans Saints, they are playing like a team with urgency. There's a team with passion. This team just has a new lease on life. Derek Carr playing better. Alvin Kamara being Alvin Kamara, doing what he does best. But how about the addition of MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Man, you talk about a guy that's been a game changer after all the injuries that the Saints have had this year with Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and in comes MVS. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling has been a life changer for the Saints offense. And Darren Rizzi has given this franchise a new life. Again, he's only been an NFL head coach for 2 games, but the Saints come into the bye week, and they needed this bye week after all that's happened in the early part of the year with what's happened with Dennis Allen and the frustration amongst players. And then Rizzi comes in, who's already the team's special teams coordinator, coming in as the interim head coach. And it's just been a new lease on life so far for the Saints. And a lot of people in the Crescent City are happy with the performance so far of this team. They're saying it's much better, and so far so good. Again, only 2 games in, still early, but if push comes to shove, or should I say if things go well for this Saints team, the Saints could give Tampa Bay some problems, or even Atlanta some problems, as we get closer to the end of the season in terms of playoff spots, or even with the Saints possibly being in the hunt. But they're going to have to win out. They can't lose any more games, and that's going to be a tough task for the New Orleans Saints. But bottom line is this: Darren Rizzi, the interim head coach, he's given the Saints a new look on life, and they're playing better. And certainly, could this momentum continue towards the end of the season? Their next opponent will be the Los Angeles Rams after the bye week. We don't know, but it's good that good things are happening in New Orleans right now, because they've been through a lot so far this season. They've been through a lot the last several years. All right, before we preview Week 12's most important games, just a little news to pass along to you. Joe Douglas is no longer the general manager of the New York Jets. Wow. So Douglas served 5.5 years as the general manager of the New York Jets. During his time as the GM of the Jets, Douglas, no playoff appearances, no winning seasons, but was instrumental in making the Aaron Rodgers trade happen last season. And so far, it has not been a success. And Woody Johnson continuing to clean house to try to make this Rodgers experiment work. And Robert Saleh fired earlier in the year. Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator, now currently the interim head coach. Mike Williams was traded, dealt to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Devontae Adams was brought in a trade from the Raiders. And, now we've got Joe Douglas fired by the New York Jets. Again, Douglas served as the GM for the Jets for 5.5 years, no playoff appearances, and no winning seasons. And hey, I talk about the Dallas Cowboys being a soap opera, but the New York Jets, they've been a soap opera for a long time as well. And Woody Johnson's not playing. Could Aaron Rodgers not return next year? I don't know. I got a strong feeling Woody's determined to make this Rodgers deal work. But again, Joe Douglas, after 5.5 seasons as the general manager of the New York Jets, has been fired. Oh, and also some entertainment news to pass along to you. The Queen Bee, that's right, Beyonce. Beyonce will be performing live at the halftime show of the Baltimore Ravens and Houston Texans game on Christmas Day. That's right. Christmas Day will be an NFL doubleheader on streaming platform Netflix. As if Netflix hasn't had their problems, right? If you haven't, if you, in case you've been living under a rock, Netflix had their issues with buffering, also with audio problems, microphone issues, all sorts of problems that went down with their live production of the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson broadcast. And a lot of people have voiced their frustrations in more ways than one on social media. And so Netflix, they'll have another opportunity at broadcasting live sports. They will have the Christmas Day doubleheader, with the first game being the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central Time. And then the second game of the doubleheader will be the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Houston Texans. Kickoff is at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Central Time. And so, media mogul, entrepreneur, philanthropist, musician extraordinaire Beyonce. Yeah, Beyonce will be performing at the halftime show of the Ravens Texans game in the second game of the doubleheader. So hopefully Netflix will get it right. I'm pretty sure Roger Goodell and the people at the NFL have talked to Netflix. They watched the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul telecast, and I know they were not happy about this. So Netflix has got about a month and some change to get it right. But again, Grammy Award winning singer, songwriter, philanthropist, entrepreneur Beyonce will be performing at the halftime show of the Ravens Texans game on Christmas Day, and that game will be streamed live on Netflix. So we'll see. You know, Beyonce is a Houston native. It's been a big year for Beyonce, of course, releasing the country album Cowboy Carter, also being nominated for multiple Grammys, also doing her thing with several endorsements. So Beyonce, again, just one of those once in a lifetime talents, and you get a chance to see Beyonce on Christmas Day as a part of the halftime show with the Ravens and Texans game, and that game will be streamed live on Netflix. All right, now it's time to preview Week 12's most important games in the NFL. We have Thursday night football with the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Cleveland Browns. So for Pittsburgh, not an easy win, but a win is a win, and you take it. And they had a tough win over their AFC North rival, Baltimore Ravens. Russell Wilson didn't play his best game, but he made the necessary throws and he made the necessary plays to keep his team in the game to give them a victory over their division rival, Baltimore Ravens. The Steelers, you know their bread and butter, right? Running game and especially defense. Defense was so effective in this game. TJ Watt and company, they did their thing, neutralizing Lamar Jackson. As for the Cleveland Browns, disappointing loss to the New Orleans Saints last week. Jameis Winston put up some monster numbers in terms of passing yards, but they could not get the victory. So Cleveland, they return home. They have an opportunity to try to get a win against their longtime rival. And, you know, when you think of the Steelers and Browns for decades, that rivalry has always been hard-hitting, no-nonsense, blue-collar, tough football. It's going to be a chilly game. It's going to be a cold game up there in Cleveland near Lake Erie. And I mean, when you think of Pittsburgh and Cleveland, of course, there's going to be defense. You know, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. Hey, you can't help to think about those two guys, right? Just two defensive players at their peak, in their prime currently. And when you think about Pittsburgh and Cleveland, right, you think, as I mentioned, Myles Garrett earlier, Mason Rudolph, the whole the whole skirmish with, you know, getting hit with the helmet and so on and so forth. That hard to believe that was only several years ago when that happened, but this is going to be a different situation because we've got two quarterbacks that are dynamic with Russell Wilson going up against Jameis Winston. So Thursday night football should be an interesting one with the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Cleveland Browns. The Minnesota Vikings will square off against the Chicago Bears. So we've got two NFC North rival teams, Vikings and the Bears, no stranger. These two have known each other for decades. Hey, Vikings, Bears. You know the players, right? You know the players for decades. These two have been joined at the hip for one another, joined at one another, I should say. So for the Vikings, big win over the Tennessee Titans. Sam Darnold was effective. Aaron Jones, he made his mark in this game, but also too Justin Jefferson. I mean, Justin Jefferson is an all-world player. I mean, what's not to love about Justin Jefferson, right? Jordan Addison played well in this game as well, but Minnesota's defense, they really went after Will Levis, like Andrew Van Ginkel and company. If you saw the highlights of that game, man, Van Ginkel and that Minnesota defense was not to be played with, and they went at Will Levis. I mean, Will Levis still trying to find his way in the NFL, but Minnesota's defense so good. And then, as far as Chicago is concerned, losing a tough one last week to their other rival, the Green Bay Packers. Caleb Williams still trying to find his way, going through growing pains as a rookie quarterback. And let's see what happens. Again, there's still Chicago. Thomas Brown is the interim offensive coordinator. Shane Waldron was let go almost 2 weeks ago. So we'll see what happens with Chicago, but Vikings and Bears at Soldier Field, it's always great when these two teams play. It's always going to be hard hitting. There's always going to be some drama, and it's certainly going to be a good one between Minnesota and Chicago. We've got the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Washington Commanders. So let's start off with Washington. Washington losing a tough one to their NFC East rival Philadelphia Eagles. Jaden Daniels didn't play his best game, but as they say, his best days and his better and his brighter days are definitely ahead of him, and he's definitely got an opportunity to redeem himself in this game against their long dreaded rival, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is nosediving, and it is just not looking good. It is the soap opera that never ends. Dallas, after being embarrassed and dominated by their in-state rival, Houston Texans, there are just no answers. Jerry Jones continued to make stupid comments on Dallas radio stations, the post-game press conferences, making excuses. It's just not good. And then, of course, the injuries, and then you've got a lot of players that have already checked out, and mentally they're just not there. And I don't know what's going to happen of this game. I don't know if Dallas is going to bring enough fight to Landover, Maryland, outside of the nation's capital, to go up against the Commanders. I know Washington, they're going to bring the fight because after coming off of a tough loss to Philadelphia, Jaden Daniels wants to bring his best forward. Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin wants a better showing after he was nowhere to be found in the loss to the Eagles. Zach Ertz, those guys, they want a better showing. Bobby Wagner and company, Frankie Louvu, they want a better showing as well. So we've got a rivalry game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the New York Giants. So for the Giants, Daniel Jones, he is out, and back in the saddle is Tommy DeVito. That's right. New Jersey's own Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito, who took the NFL by storm last year when the Giants got on a little winning streak before all things came crashing down on that Monday night loss that the Giants had last year. But Daniel Jones, he signed the contract, got a massive contract extension a couple of years ago after the Giants beat the Vikings in a playoff game. A lot of people, including myself, scratching their heads as to why Daniel got the contract, but that's neither here nor there. So out goes Daniel. In comes Tommy DeVito, hoping to give the Giants a spark because they've got an all-world wide receiver with Malik Neighbors. They've also got a solid running back with Tyrone Tracy Jr. So the Giants coming off of the bye week, and they're going to be going up against another team that's coming off of their bye week, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So for Tampa, again, tough loss to the 49ers before the bye week, and they're going to be heading out to the East Coast, and Baker Mayfield, he wants to do better, but it's going to be tough because out there in the New Jersey Meadowlands, the Giants fans, they have some glimmer of hope with Tommy DeVito. Maybe things can change. Maybe DeVito can get the ball downfield to Malik Neighbors. Maybe some things can happen. The offense can open up. We'll see. But the Bucs, they got a lot of pride, man, after losing a tough one to the 49ers before the bye week. Baker Mayfield, he's looking for retribution. It should be an interesting game between the Buccaneers and the Giants. We have an NFC West rivalry game between the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. So first for Seattle, a huge win over their rival San Francisco 49ers. Geno Smith, he mustered up enough energy, made plays when was necessary, and including the go-ahead rushing touchdown to give the Seahawks the lead and the victory. So the game is headed there. This game is going to be played in Seattle, and certainly the Seahawks, they've got a lot of confidence, and rightfully so. As for the Cardinals coming off of their bye week had a win over the New York Jets, and the Cardinals and the Seahawks, but especially the Cardinals are red hot right now, but Seattle's got a lot coming into this game, beating the 49ers, a team that is, a lot of people said, Super Bowl bound this year. We'll see how that plays out, but Arizona and Seattle, this should be an interesting game on the West Coast. You got Kyler Murray going up against Geno Smith. Also, don't forget about the running backs in this game. You got James Conner and you got Kenneth Walker. This should be a good one. I think this is going to be a game that's going to go down to the wire with the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. We have the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Green Bay Packers. So let's start off with San Francisco. Tough loss to their rival, Seattle Seahawks. The offense did not play their best. Nick Bosa expected to miss some time. He suffered an injury to his hip pointer. George Kittle did not play in last week's game. He may play in this game against Green Bay. Christian McCaffrey still trying to find his way back into the offense, still trying to find his groove, still trying to find his rhythm. Brock Purdy did not play his best game. You know, when the Niners get the Lambeau, you know, all of them are going to be on their A game, and they're seeking retribution. They're ready for a win. As for Green Bay, big win over their rival Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. Jordan Love making the necessary plays to get the job done for his team. Josh Jacobs had a nice performance. Christian Watson played well. So Green Bay trying to get back on track. San Francisco, they're trying to get back on track as well. And you know, when the 49ers and the Packers play, it's always fun, right? You know, the rivalry has been intense for a long time, and they're going to be playing at Lambeau Field. And these two teams, they played each other in the playoffs last year. Jordan Love threw the ball on the run, had his pass intercepted. The Packers almost won that game, but hey, that was then, this is now. And we're going to have a treat at Lambeau Field with the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Green Bay Packers. Sunday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles will go up against the Los Angeles Rams. So let's start off with the Rams. The Rams, big win over the New England Patriots. Matthew Stafford doing what Matthew Stafford does best, making plays, you know, like a Timex watch. Takes a licking and keeps on ticking. And Matthew, still very much in his prime, making plays when necessary. Puka Nacua, he made the necessary plays for his team. Cooper Kupp, doing what Cooper Kupp does best, right? And then Kyron Williams playing like an all-pro on the offensive side. So the Rams got their victory over the Patriots last week. For the Eagles, Big win over their NFC East rival Washington Commanders. And for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is going to be Jalen Hurts. And Saquon Barkley, he makes a huge difference on that Eagles offense. He's really been the X factor. When Jalen and the passing game can't get going right away, when Saquon gets going, then everything else opens up. Jalen is able to make plays and get his receivers down the field, like A.J. Brown, like a Devontae Smith, like Dallas Goedert and company. And this is going to be a fun one. This is going to be an offensive showdown on Sunday night with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Rams. Of course, I think it's going to come down to the two quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts going up against Matthew Stafford. And I think this game is going to go down to the wire on Sunday night with the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Monday Night Football, it's the Harbaugh Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. So for Baltimore, tough loss to their division rival, Pittsburgh Steelers. Lamar Jackson didn't play his best game. Derrick Henry got a touchdown in the game, but I know he wants to have a much better performance in the game on the West Coast against the Chargers. As for the LA Chargers, what a victory it was for them last Sunday night, beating the Cincinnati Bengals. It was a tale of two halves. Chargers dominated in the first half. Cincinnati dominated for much of the second half, but Justin Herbert made the plays when it was necessary, and then J.K. Dobbins getting the go-ahead touchdown to win the game for the LA Chargers. So Ravens and Chargers, it comes down to the quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. These two have had some games for quite some time now. And again, we're watching greatness right now. I mentioned it earlier with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and also with Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. But now we're going to watch we've been watching greatness too with Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert. And we're going to see greatness on Monday night with these two teams, not just with the quarterbacks, but really with the running backs as well. Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins, also Gus Edwards. Dobbins and Edwards were both former members of the Baltimore Ravens. So I wonder how that's going to play out. I'm pretty sure they have it on their mind. They want to get this victory in the Harbaugh Bowl. So this should be a fun one. Of course, John Harbaugh, head coach of the Ravens, Jim Harbaugh, head coach of the Chargers. Hey, you know, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be an emotional one. It's going to be an intense one on Monday night with the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, now it's time for my game of the week. My game of the week is going to be the San Francisco 49ers versus the Green Bay Packers. These two teams have been synonymous, not just with the NFL, but just professional sports as a whole. Both of these franchises have produced Hall of Fame players. When you think of the 49ers, you think of the likes of Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, also Ronnie Lott, just to name a few, Ricky Waters, Steve Young, Terrell Owens. Hey, the list goes on and on. The Green Bay Packers, Bart Starr, Brett Favre. You can say as recent as Aaron Rodgers, Sterling Sharp, also Robert Brooks, just to name a few, Desmond Howard. With the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers, you know about the history with the NFL draft in 2005. The 49ers passing on Aaron Rodgers and selecting Alex Smith as the number one overall pick. With all of the storylines that have come up in this rivalry, the 49ers and the Packers, they've met a total of 73 times. The Packers lead the all-time series 38, 34, and 1. Now, the last time these two teams played one another was in the playoffs last year. The 49ers would go on to beat the Packers in a close one, 24-21. It was in the divisional round. If you remember, Jordan Love had an opportunity to get the team in field goal range. He throws the ball on the run. 49ers intercepted. Game over. But that was then, this is now. Both teams, they're looking to stay alive and keep their playoff hopes alive. San Francisco expected to be Super Bowl bound, hampered with injuries, having close losses as of late, not playing like the 49ers team that we've known the last, I guess you could say the last 5, almost 6 seasons. For the Green Bay Packers, the Packers are slowly getting back on track, slowly getting back to their winning ways. So with these two teams, it's going to come down to the quarterback play, and it's going to come down to who commits the fewest turnovers. Will it be Brock Purdy or will it be Jordan Love? Hey, that's the beauty of the NFL. You just never know. But it just won't be with Purdy and Love. It's going to be the play of the running backs, Christian McCaffrey and Josh Jacobs. What are they going to bring to the table? Or how about the wide receivers for the 49ers, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings? Or for Green Bay, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson and company. Whenever these two teams get together, it's always fun. It's always exciting. Hey, it was exciting when they had the catch 3, right, with T.O., right? I don't know if some of you listeners may remember that, some of you may not. But nevertheless, with the Packers, and I'm sorry, not the catch 3, the catch 2, I apologize. The catch 2 in the wild card game with the Packers, the 49ers. Steve Young connected with Terrell Owens. Then T.O. showed emotion at the end of the game. Again, that's just some of the great storylines in the 49ers-Packers rivalry. This game's going to be played at Lambeau Field, so you know the cheeseheads are going to be in full force. But 49ers fans, they travel well as well, and I think this is going to be a great game. The San Francisco 49ers versus the Green Bay Packers, my game of the week. All right, before we get on out of here, I want to give you my picks on who I think will win Week 12's most important games in the NFL. Thursday Night Football, the Pittsburgh Steelers go up against the Cleveland Browns. I like Pittsburgh to win. The Minnesota Vikings versus the Chicago Bears. I like Minnesota to win. The Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington Commanders. I like Washington to win. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go up against the New York Giants. I think this is going to be a close game, but I think Tommy DeVito will give Giants fans something to smile about. I like the Giants to win. The Arizona Cardinals go up against the Seattle Seahawks. I like the Seahawks to win. The San Francisco 49ers versus the Green Bay Packers. Going to be a very tight game, a very interesting game, but I like the 49ers to bounce back and win. Sunday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles go up against the Los Angeles Rams. I like the Eagles to win. Monday Night Football, the Baltimore Ravens go up against the Los Angeles Chargers. I like the Chargers to win. So again, my picks are Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Washington, New York Giants, Seattle, San Francisco, Philadelphia, LA Chargers. That's it. And there you have it. And that's going to do it for another exciting edition of the program. And until next time, everybody, I'm Ed Robinson saying so long, you be safe, and enjoy the games. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.